Yep.
Okay, recording now. Alright. Alright, as Matthew McConaughey would say. Alright. Oh yeah, we need to... yeah, we can't exactly play the game if we don't have the controller. Play without controllers and you won't.
Play with your mind.
Anyway, today we're going to be looking at some PlayStation 2 classics. PS2 classics. Français. Oddly enough, the character, Ico says, calls to the girl in this game as if she was called Francois, so maybe that's quite appropriate. Francois? Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, I think aren't they supposed to have like their own unique sort of language?
Yeah. So basically, they have their own language, and basically it's world building on a very minimal basis. So it's basically you can't rely on typical methods of storytelling that involve telling. It's more of a show kind of ordeal, and they have to rely on body language and other stuff like that. So the reason I wanted to bring up these games in particularly. On the PlayStation 2 era, because I wanted to talk about the lead designer behind these games, Fumito Ueda, who's been quite the video game auteur. He's made Ico, which is a very minimalist platformer game, which relied more on atmosphere as well as a bond you'd form with the character Yorda in the game. And then took that even further with the epic tragedy, Shadow of the Colossus. Originally going to be a Monster Hunter type game called Nico, but then he changed it up to a single player story driven experience. On the PlayStation 4, he made The Last Guardian. You can get that on the PlayStation 4, or if you have a PlayStation 5, you could, either through backwards compatibility or through the PlayStation Store, you can play The Last Guardian, which takes the whole concept of having an animal companion like aggro and just takes it even further with this beast companion that you form a bond with in the game. There's also been various remasters. There's been remasters of these two games on the PlayStation 3, and there's been a full-on remake of Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 4. And as of recently, it's been announced at the Game Awards that Fumito Ueda is coming up with a new project, which for now is called Project Robot. So a first delve into explicit science fiction for him. So these games have had quite the reputation for being very story-driven and telling a story through the gameplay itself. Very minimal, it leaves quite the impression on you. So today we're going to be playing through it just to prove the points.
Going back to what I was saying earlier in that with like their...
Oh poop. Oh dear. Oh wait. Note to self, do not use 60HZ. Use 50. I was trying out the 60HZ, but then that happened, I thought, okay, no. You were saying. Oh, here's the introductory cutscene.
Going back to what I was saying earlier in that, with the sort of their own unique language in that, it's almost kind of like Pingu in a sense that kind of makes it like kind of like universal in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it makes it more universal indeed. So the fact that he does go out of his way to make completely fictional languages, even for they're not even speaking Japanese. They're just speaking their own unique languages included in the game. And apparently, if you play this game again, I've heard that you can actually unlock subtitles for what Yorda's actually saying, which is quite cool.
I did hear a bit of that, yeah.
The whole point of that mechanic is to get you immersed in the storytelling, where the characters have to rely on body language and other, as you say, universal methods of communication to get by. These games, down to their core design, is very minimal, so it doesn't really give you all the details. It leaves a lot up to interpretation, but it gives you enough to at least get the bare basics on what's happening. Okay, I can even sense here that Ico was meant to be for the PlayStation 1, but ended up...
yeah. There's actually like a good chunk of like footage that exists out there of the original concept. I do have to say, like, they definitely seem to would have like absolutely pushed the boundaries and off the PlayStation 1 graphics if they were able to pull it off on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's kind of similar in concept to Resident Evil 0 on that, because that game originally was supposed to come out on the Nintendo 64.
Really?
Before switching it up to the Nintendo GameCube.
Ah, right. First the Nintendo GameCube before they would eventually have the more technologically advanced remake of the first Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of similar to some of the bosses. So yeah, this would have pushed the PS1 to its limits. This is definitely early PlayStation 2 era, but this definitely revolutionized how storytelling can be done in these kind of games. Because before this game came out, people were focused on games for the sake of playing the game, but this game was primarily made for the sake of a story experience, and with how minimal it approached it, and with its puzzle approach to puzzle platforming, it definitely revolutionized many other games, like, if I'm not mistaken, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and probably a few other ones. There was another one called Rhyme, and there's a lot of games that take hints from this specific game. And the other game made by Fumito Ueda.
Another game in that was originally supposed to be for an older console that eventually got ported to a newer one, and that was a game you probably might have heard of it, Shinobi. No, not Shinobi, Shenmue.
Shenmue. Oh yeah.
Because that for the Dreamcast, because that was originally supposed to come out on the Sega Saturn.
All right.
But obviously no one has struggles that game went through on the Dreamcast, and that it was just too much for the Sega Saturn on its own and that.
Vibration, activate, or deactivate. Go on! I've noticed that the title screen there was pretty still, like you'd see from the PlayStation 1 games. Aside, you got the flashing logo, but I noticed that the cutscene would go on and that it had a freeze frame. That's very reminiscent of what you see from PlayStation 1 type of games, especially from what you showed me with Resident Evil.
Yeah.
So it was a different kind of way of doing things back then, using the bare minimum to get by with those games. But here was another game that was advancing, yet also going in the bare minimum. Oh, okay, it's clearly still going there. Something funny is going on with our television set. This is gonna be an interesting experience. Are we sitting on a remote? Is that what's happening? Oh no, wait, the remote's... What on earth is going on? At least the game's still playing. I think it's just that we got the screen recorder going on, because we can now see the game there, albeit a few seconds delayed. That may be a bit of a hassle if we're facing up against some enemies. Man, imagine playing a game where the character has a delayed reaction. I guess there are some games like that. You would have gotten away with it, but weren't for your delayed reactions. No! Don't! No! Alright, this is where the subtitles come into play. Get the sword. Ooh. This'll get him. Well, that's interesting. I've just noticed that the totems are designed with little people in them. I think that's meant to be representative of the children encapsulated in those capsules.
Yeah.
The horned children. Right. I just noticed that just now. You can tell that this is the way to the prison because that's their deliberate design.
correct me if I'm wrong, Dad, but I do believe that there is a version of Ico that came out sort of later on in PlayStation 2 Life and that actually had the option of playing the game in 2-player.
Really?
Yeah, where one played Ico and the other played as the girl.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a really fascinating fact. I wonder if that actually exists. That would be cool to have.
Yeah, I think it was I think it's kind of like some sort of special edition that came out like much later on in the PlayStation 2 life cycle. And that, like,
a special edition.
It possibly was like sort of used to promote Shadow of the Colossus because obviously that came out like around about like 2005, 2006.
Right. You don't think the special edition would be this, would it? It's got a special cover.
Did it say anything about like special edition, or is it just like?
It has a special cover. It doesn't say anything about it being a special edition. Ouch.
I don't know. I remember when I got my copy of Silent Hill 2 and that. I remember like reading on that special edition, and I thought it was the version which was the director's cut. And I thought, oh brilliant! Brilliant! Got with the director's cut. But it just turned out that the special edition just meant that it's got like a sort of like making of TBD in that inside itself, and that. And I was a bit annoyed about that.
All right. Maybe we should put another controller in just to see if it is a special edition. Probably isn't. It probably isn't.
I do have to say that I'm kind of surprised how much is going on at the beginning here, because I just remember from the demo that they just showed the kid just being like chucked into the pod and had an escape.
Alright, I guess there's another difference with the demo version. Alright, here we go. So, as you can see here, this was pretty revolutionary for the time in its very minimal kind of approach. I mean, obviously you have games like Resident Evil that did the kind of thing here, but this also took the cinematic thing to a new level. As you can see, there's no heads-up display, and it's a common practice nowadays to have cinematic-leaning games to have no heads-up display, or at the very least, have it not show up when it's not needed. In games like A Plague Tale or some other games, like the heads-up display will appear briefly during some battle sequences, so you can keep up with your health and your ammo, stuff like that. Although with Plague Tale, it's more or less a stealth-driven kind of game. But then eventually, during exploration sequences, it'll just disappear, and then leaving you to just get immersed in the environment again.
Yeah. Another game that sort of attempted something similar to what you're just saying there. In fact, I think it actually came out the same year, around about 2002, and that was the Getaway.
The Getaway.
It's like sort of like it's kind of like similar to like GTA in that, where like you sort of like go around sort of driving, which has like sort of driving around and shooting people and that, but it's like based on London.
Right.
It's supposed to be like a British gang. It's supposed to replicate British gangster flicks, but that game actually had minimalist sort of furniture as well in that. In fact, it didn't have any in that. Like the way that they sort of depict health in the game and that is that depending on how many times your guy gets shot and that, like you'd see like a large amount of like blood stains and that on his like the back of his jacket and that, indicating how much damage that he's taken in that. And that the way that he recovers health in that is, which is quite sort of innovative for the time in that, is that you have your guy like stand next to like stand next to a wall and that, and he would sort of like rest on it and sort of like give himself a breather and that, and the blood stains would disappear.
Alright.
And another one which was quite clever in that is to figure out when you're actually driving the car in that and trying to figure out where you need to go in that, like the car's sort of like indicators in that are used in that to guide you to which way you needed to go in that.
Aye.
Like during the missions and that. So like instead of like having like a mini map and that, like showing where you need to go in that, it'd actually use the blinkers and that. So like when you need to go in one direction, it would just blank telling you to go in that direction.
Alright.
And so on. Quite innovative in that for the time.
Absolutely. There's many unique ways to get people immersed in the cinematic experience, and I suppose it depends on the way you're designing it too. I mean, you could have these specific camera angles, or you could have like indicators to tell people where to go, or have no indicators. This game, for example, doesn't really give people any indicators other than what's implied in the level design. I noticed that there wasn't even a heads-up display for a tutorial on what button to press. I remember when I first played the first level, I was like, okay, which button do I use to open the switch? And typically in games like this, it's the X button to jump, but a way to decide, no, let's just have the triangle button to jump, just to get people to think differently. But there's a really unique mechanic, which we'll get to later when we get to it. But for the time being, it's already making quite the impression. I suppose Metal Gear Solid also had X to crouch. Didn't really have a jump button.
Another game that sort of used minimalist sort of game furniture and that you might probably have heard of and that is
Stay alive! I will find you! You were saying?
Yeah, another game that used minimalist game furniture that you might have heard of and that is Mirror's Edge.
Oh yeah, the parkour game, yes.
Yeah, and the way that they got around to like sort of indicating on where your character
Runner's vision.
Well, yeah, but also like for the platforms that your character needed to climb in that, they would deliberately color code them sort of red in that.
Aye.
So that to point out to the player that that's the direction you need to go to, or what that's the platform you need to climb.
Yeah, pretty clever way for a fast-paced game, and you can even turn it off if that's the case. A lot of people have a common complaints about this yellow paint trope in games today. Although I was playing A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead, and it gives you the option to turn the yellow paint off.
That's good.
Alright, so
a challenge.
Alright. I think for something tells me, I think a lot of people will remember this specific segment of the game in general, just the atmosphere, the wind, and just the feeling of isolation, and all that implies. I think this part in particular would be quite striking for people, I would imagine.
Yeah. But going back to the whole yellow paint thing, I remember watching a YouTube video on that, and it was saying that I think the complaint was that like with Resident Evil 2 and that, which had like yellow paint in that, it kind of made sense of why you'd see it in the game and that, because it's in a police station and that. But it makes less sense in that and Resident Evil 4 and that, where you're in a rustic village.
Yeah.
Have it like slathered on to like wooden barrels.
Yeah, quite. Alright. I'm coming down, fair maiden. Not through that way. Back away, okay.
Can I actually die from fall damage?
I believe you can, yes. Do you want to test that out? Let's see if a young boy with a horn in his head can survive fall damage. Sacrifices are worth it, son! Should we? No. Up here. No. Later on in The Last Guardian, the boy character would have unique climbing mechanics to make him go anywhere and everywhere, but at the same time the level design was still indicating that you need to go a certain direction at some point. It's kind of a unique blend of open world but also being linear. I guess it's a semi-open world that way. But obviously these games are, well at least Ico and The Last Guardian are still quite linear. Funnily enough, Shadow of the Colossus is much more open world, and yet it feels more empty than in Ico and The Last Guardian, if you get what I mean.
I suppose it kind of makes sense that there would, that Ico and that would be more linear sort of experience in that, concerned that at the time of that there wouldn't have been a lot of sort of open world games in that to like sort of really sort of get the sort of full attention of the console at the time.
Yeah.
Because during this period of time of that, the only game that would have sort of like experimented with open world and that would have been like GTA 3.
And as you said before, Shenmue was definitely quite revolutionary in expanding the open world horizons. In fact, even before that, if I'm not mistaken, Deus Ex revolutionized the open world genre as we know it today.
Oh yeah, Deus Ex. I suppose that was kind of like semi-open world. Like I mean, it wasn't like you had like a big, vast, like open, like sort of like city to explore and that. But you had like sort of subsections and that you can explore here and there.
Ah.
But yeah, it definitely had.
Wow, if you just give her some extra food or a feast, then that thing falls. Okay, obviously the boy weighs more than a meal. It's just the funny idea, just... This is quite a clever storytelling device to indicate the language barrier. Have it so that the audience doesn't know what she's saying either. But as I said before, if you can unlock a new game setting where you can understand what she's saying. Right, so kids with horns are seen as a bad omen in this world. The ending of Shadow of the Colossus could indicate why. Can I pick this up, please? Can I pick this up? Go, 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 go. Let go of my friend! Come on, come on. There, it's not gonna hurt you again. The lack of a HUD system encourages you to learn the controls on the fly, but I noticed that Shadow of the Colossus and the King Kong game for the PlayStation 2 would have a brief HUD system, but then go away once you knew the controls, so... Aye. So that's a useful thing to have. So it would have been handy to have in this kind of game.
I didn't know it was there in that, the plank of wood in that. It seemed to be on fire when you picked it up.
Yeah, it's because it was a torch wood. There might be a way to light it on fire again.
Yeah, I wonder if that sort of increases the damage of the...
Yeah, it probably does, because the key thematics of these games is light versus darkness, so it makes sense to have the light of the torch beat away these dark monsters.
Yeah. Increase the power of his plank of wood. like a rosin.
Wood. Nice. Alright, so here's the most innovative part of the game. So, it's... Francois? Croissant? It's the name of Ed from Cowboy Bebop. Francoise! So yeah, R1 is the main button to call out to your companion who opens the doors, and mainly it helps to save the game. I'm going to call you Francoise, is that okay? So once you get close to each other, you can hold down R1 and you hold hands. Now, here's the most interesting mechanic. You have to guide this girl through the game and protect her, and you get to form this this bond with each other because you both depend on each other to escape, and at the same time, because the environment's so isolating, you are the only company of each other. This poor boy's been isolated enough as it is. It's kind of charming if you go fast enough. It's kind of tugging at her, kind of further indicating his age. You can call it part of the physics mechanic, but I think it kind of adds to the charm of these two. But anyway, what I find interesting is that the way you form a bond with her, this is where the story starts to get interweaved into the game itself. Notice that I have to hold down this R1 button to hold her hand. Like, this is you, the player, literally making the effort to hold her hand. That kind of mechanic further serves the thematics of the game. I don't know how much of that is robbed in the co-op experience, but I did play this other game called Sky, the Children of Light, made by the same people who made Flower and Journey. They have a mechanic where it's a online game, and multiple players at once have the opportunity to hold each other's hands as a game mechanic. So I guess if that specific mechanic of holding people's hands is still there in the co-op mode of this game, then I guess nothing really major is lost. But yeah, it's a really good idea, and you can tell Fumito Ueda was way ahead of his time in thinking about not just having the story and the cutscenes, but having the story be part of the gameplay itself. That to me is what makes the difference between narrative arts in a video game and the kind of narrative that you just watch the cutscenes and call it a day. There's just something, when done right, there's something you just have to experience in the game itself to get the full experience of the story, because video games have that unique mechanic of being interactive, and being interactive enhances their capacity for unique storytelling. Yes, here's where the save mechanic comes in. Another key feature is that these benches where you save the game on, look, she's pointing her hand like, oh, I want to touch that. Can we sit down, please?
I wonder how comfortable those things are.
They're stone benches. So a key feature of this is that, I guess this is another unique save mechanic akin to the Resident Evil ink ribbon system.
Yeah.
Where I suppose that's interesting now that I think about it. Save mechanics actually further serve the themes of the game. With Resident Evil, it's all about inventory management and survival horror, so it makes it to have your save have its own limits and not be unlimited, which gives the game quite the edge and keeps you on your toes on what you can reserve. Plays a crucial part. In this game, it's a somewhat similar mechanic, but obviously it's not really the inventory management kind of game. It's a puzzle platformer kind of game where you form a bond with the characters. So Fumito Ueda had it so that you cannot save this game unless these two people are on a bench together, further symbolizing the bond. And you have this nice music, which gives you the safe space. It's good to have that kind of music where this is the safe space. Relax. There was this one video I saw actually saying that the greatest evil that you as a game designer can do is break that trust of the safe space by having some enemy or something like that invade the space, akin to like the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones.
Well, that's like the same thing with Resident Evil 3 Nemesis and regardless with Nemesis himself and that, regardless of no matter when you're sort of being chased by him or not and that, you'll never ever encounter him in the safe room. Like that's the one guarantee that you expect from Nemesis. Like, you know, he can appear in any place at any time, but the same place is kind of like sacred ground in that.
Yeah.
You cannot enter.
Here you have to keep holding down R1 to make sure that the lady's safe. Moments like that definitely add to the cinematic experience.
Yeah.
And I just noticed just before I went away that you can stay on the bench for as long as you want. I appreciate games that can encourage you to just slow down and take in the moment. Like Life is Strange did that, where you can have moments where you can just sit down, especially with the game with all that weight of the drama and stuff like that. It can give you time to reflect on what's just happened. More games need to try that kind of thing.
I think by this time I think game developers thought realizing that, you know, maybe being a bit too stingy on how many times you can save in that is a bit too much. So, you know, our game's already hard enough in that, you know.
Alright. More nasty enemies. Stay back, my dear. I shall fight off these demonic forces. Aye, demonic forces. Aye, demonic forces. Stay back. Stay back. One major critique I do have of the game, though, is that the combat is a bit too simplistic. I mean, I know that games like Minecraft will also have simplistic combat, but even then, there's a variety of like bows and arrows, a shield, and other stuff you can craft, and the whole fact that it's there's a limit to what you can do. Get back in.
Well, I suppose it's sort of, since you're playing as like
a young boy,
10-year-old boy, and that you're going to be kind of sort of limited in terms of combat. In some ways, not kind of like similar in that to like the Silent Hill games, like particularly Silent Hill 2 in that, because not only like the wee boy in that and Henry in that are like both limited in combat, but also they both happen, the very first weapon both happen to be a plank of wood.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, I've heard it said that by a YouTuber called Gamers101 when he was talking about Shadow of the Colossus, that the awkwardnesses of the gameplay can actually enhance the experience, because, as you say here, like, in this case, Ico's just a 10-year-old boy with a stick, and what do young boys do as their favorite kind of weapon? I got a stick! Yeah! They're not really familiar with the concept of parry and thrust and or stuff like that. It's a simple of whack, 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 whack. So so that awkwardness does lend itself well in further characterizing Ico here.
Well, to be fair, how can you really sort of parry and thrust with a plank of wood?
Well, there was that game Condemned, which was very melee focused, and you have attacks and a defense system, so there is that going for it. I'm gonna step on the button. No, it's a weight platform thing. I don't know if I'm gonna go this way. Bonsoir? Oh, you're already a few steps ahead with me. You got a sense of intuition.
Fantastic use of lighting.
That's amazing lighting. That is amazing lighting. Man, the fogginess is reminding me of Silent Hill now. And it's a puzzle game in the sense that you're not sure where to go exactly. Just trying to figure it out. I think it's this way. Oh. I can't be too far away from this lassie.
Yeah, I'm guessing she doesn't sort of jump. She wouldn't be able to sort of jump down from that distance, unless she sort of managed to like sort of get rid of the obstacle in the way.
Yeah. I think I made a mistake. I should have wandered down here. If I'm not quick enough, I think the enemies are going to start showing up. Come on. Calm down. I'll catch you. Nope. Okay. Thanks for shaking your head just to indicate that you can't do that. Right.
I did actually think about like that, like, you know, if you would sort of catch her, but again, he's a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Probably end up flat in the first.
Yeah. Here we go. There's a switch there. Jump, boy, jump. Right. Pull the switch. There we go.
Pull the crank, Leo.
Pull the crank, Igor.
Yeah.
Pull the lever, Igor. Pull the lever, crank.
Yeah.
I have a box. I'm gonna. Get away. You find out later that these demonic spirits are apparently the corrupted forms of all the boys that got captured. The boys and presumably the girls as well. So I guess, thematically speaking, it's basically children kind of trying to wrestle with each other in a way.
Spoils much?
Oh no. Okay, excuse me. I need to save my girlfriend. Excuse me. Oh! Wait, get back! No, get up! Get up! Go! No. Fuck that! Let me up! Go! No, get up!
Oh, that's strange. But
I think I just zoomed in unintentionally there.
oh, they're upper.
It's R2 to zoom in.
I suppose it's for gameplay balance that you know that they kind of have like one monster pick them up so close to one of the holes in that and have them just immediately go in and
Get away from my girlfriend. I'm lonely and I need company.
I do wonder if the monsters, you know, are actually able to like sort of hurt, like sort of. Well, obviously they can hurt you in that, but like, you know, they're able to not do enough damage to kill you on their own in that.
Maybe. It's not really that kind of game though. It's more of a game where it's a game about companionship, and if they take your companion down the hole, it's game over.
Yeah, but it's kind of sort of interesting to sort of think because like the whole sort of game, the whole emphasis of the game that is based on the well-being of the other character turn. It's actually interesting to think, you know, like is it possible for the other character to be able to sort of be killed in a conventional way and that to get game over?
Yeah. Typically, people are not very fond of the concept of escort missions. Usually escort missions are hated because when they try to, the way they design companions is that they're useless twats who end up just exposing themselves out in the open, and you have to defeat waves of enemies just to make sure they're safe. They can be really annoying, but there have been some instances where the escort mission is actually done right.
Alright, I'm just going to switch this off and on again.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the PlayStation 1. There's something going on with the television there, because clearly it's going on there with no problem. There we go.
No way, I'm just going to.
All right.
I'm just wondering if this is just hang on. Well, you can just cut this part out anyways.
Aye. I'm just gonna let the two sit for a while. There we go.
Yeah, good thing that this happened whilst you're on the bench and not.
Yeah, we did time right. Once every 10 minutes or so. So obviously, like, I haven't really heard people complain about this game the same way they complain about other kind of escort missions, because the entire game is focused on the bond you form with this character. So it feels more like an obligation that you ought to protect this person. Because of that bond you share, I mean, it's less of a bother. This game could have easily gone wrong because, people don't like escort missions, and yet somehow this is one of the most beloved games ever made.
Oh, you'll suffer soon enough once we get into Resident Evil 4 now.
Leon!
Yeah, look forward to that one, folks.
That's one of the things the remake really improved on. Another game with the escort mission done right would probably be Telltale's Walking Dead Season 1.
I suppose that one wasn't technically like an game that had like conventional sort of escort. It was more like it was more like a point and click game in that.
Yeah, where you make decisions.
Where you had like a bond with a small girl in that, but it didn't have like conventional. Conventional sort of escort, courty sort of, kind of gameplay in that. It was just.
I wonder what other games there are that can encourage the escort mission done right. Take my hand! Take my hand! I know I'm slightly awkwardly to the right, but get on the box!
Well, I remember Resident Evil Revelations 2 in that. I think I actually did a good job in that of like, they didn't necessarily have escort missions per se in that, but they had a sort of co-op sort of gameplay in that, where you had one character in that did all the sort of combat, like sort of fighting in it, and the other played like and the other character didn't do like sort of combat per se in that, but were like useful in other ways in that.
Yeah.
Such as highlight enemy sort of like weak points in that, or like highlight where the monsters were.
Yeah, it's interesting what happens.
Because for example in that with
you were saying about Barry?
About barring that, like again he took on the combat role in that, and he was escorting on this little girl in that, but she was kind of useful in terms of highlighting like monsters and that.
Alright, okay. You're saying about Barry?
Sorry about that, folks.
Technical difficulties.
Yes. So, yes, because, what was I saying? Yes, Barry did the combat role in that, and that little girl that he's sort of like protecting that. She highlights monsters like in the distance. She didn't do pre-rolls in that because there's some enemies in that will just kill Barry straight on the spot in that unless you sneak past them in that. Which the little girl's quite handy. I forget the little girl's name in that, but yeah. So yeah, but again, like it's not like a conventional game with an escort game. That it's just like it just has like sort of kind of like elements sort of similar to games with escort in it, but in general, like yeah, it's generally not. There's generally not really a lot of good examples of that, except for maybe Ico.
I suppose with The Last Guardian, the main protagonist is a bit defenseless on his own and requires Trico to do a lot of the fighting, but at the same time Trico gets freaked out after all the fights, so you have to calm him down. So it's interesting how you can vary the rules up a bit, especially with the option of cooperative mode you can play with a friend, or indeed just by virtue of having characters with different abilities, as indicated here. Coast is clear, my dear Francois. Now we gotta get out of here. Whoa. I don't know if you've noticed, but I think you'll notice here. Once she gets down. Whoa, I almost fell. Coming down, dear. Come on. Come down. There we go. Something I find quite charming about these two is that this girl is taller than this guy.
Yeah, which is very much, very much got the same kind of mindset as well, him and that, so I suppose there's a bond there.
Yeah. It says, yeah, I'm a bit of a shorty, but I'm going to protect you no matter what, and it could be some indication of, usually biologically girls tend to grow taller than boys quite early on. Come on, Francois. Unless you're willing to help me push the cards, allow me to do the work.